Today our guest on Let's Talk Jonesboro is Cecelie Cochran, and Cecelie is the MPO director for the Arkansas, what?
The Northeast Arkansas Regional Transportation Planning Commission.
Exactly. Now, welcome to Let's Talk, Cecelie.
Thank you for having me, Bill.
Now, you guys have some really cool stuff coming up right now. Tell us about the program. It's called STEP, S-T-E-P. So tell us about what STEP means and what it is for Jonesboro.
So STEP stands for Safe Transportation for Every Pedestrian. It is a federal innovation study that has been unveiled here in the city of Jonesboro. It's the only one of its kind here within our area, so we're really proud of that. But what it does is it identifies dangerous corridors within a particular area that has a lot of pedestrian and cyclists in that area. And so with that activity comes a number of hazards for citizens who need to get across the street. And STEP focuses on those particular mid-block crossings, those areas where people are crossing that isn't lighted for them, so they don't have a button to push that alerts people that they're getting ready to cross. It's typically across any type of 5-lane highways that are been identified. So currently we have 2 locations for the STEP that have been identified for Jonesboro. It is the intersection of Johnson Avenue and State Street, which is right behind Arkansas State University, and of course North Church Street, which is also known as Highway 141, which is in the area of Parker Park Community Center.
I think a lot of people will be nodding their heads as they hear you describe these areas, because if you drive down those streets, you know, particularly after dark, sometimes it's alarming to see someone standing in the middle of the street trying to get across the road. Mm-hmm. I've experienced it numerous times on Johnson, and you just worry about the safety of people trying to get back and forth. A lot of college students, yes. A lot of people who live in the neighborhoods around Johnson Street, and of course the same issue is happening on North Church.
Absolutely. We have gotten a lot of public input with people saying, hey, there's something that you need to do. I myself drive those streets. I was a student at Arkansas State University as well. And so I've definitely experienced it and witnessed near miss hits of pedestrians crossing in those areas, because there not only is there nowhere for them to safely get across, but there's nothing alerting any of the drivers that they're about to cross. And there's such high speeds in those areas as well. It's very easy for someone to make a mistake on both ends, a pedestrian and a motorist.
Right.
And because those areas were already highlighted for our region, we thought that it would be best to have a study done to see what countermeasures can be put there so that we can be proactive in trying to prevent any type of accidents in that area.
So what type of things will you consider? What type of things, when you're looking for citizen input, what type of input might they offer?
Well, they can definitely offer their concerns to let us know that we're on the right track with just identifying those 2 corridors. And they can also probably give us some information on any additional areas that we might not have already identified. And also we would like to see, because during our upcoming meeting we are going to have some recommendations that the consultants have already developed for those areas, so they can give us their input on how they feel about those possibly being implemented. Of course, these are only recommendations. These are not set in stone, but they are in accordance with federal safety guidelines, and we just want to know what the citizens have to say about it.
Got you. Now, there is, Jonesboro is not a walking town. Some cities are walking cities, some cities are not so much. Jonesboro, we've been building a lot of sidewalks to help those who want to walk around Jonesboro,
right.
but we're not there where it's a real high quality city for a pedestrian. When you talk to different groups, what type of things do you hear? What type of feedback do you get? And what type of advice do you give?
Well, I get it on very extreme sides of this spectrum. So I have a group that is adamantly against sidewalks and paths. And they have various reasons for it. And then we also get those citizens who don't have any other choice but to use sidewalks and paths to get around. Yeah. And so for me, I think of it not only as an equity issue, but a safety issue. Those citizens still need a way to get around to work, to school, to any type of events. They still have to maneuver safely. And so it's my job to weigh those concerns over maybe an inconvenience that I'm hearing a lot of the citizens who are adamantly against it. It's not necessarily that they don't, how can I put this? They feel that certain pedestrians might impede on their right of way to drive. And that's not what we're trying to do at all.
Right.
We're not trying to cause any type of inconvenience or congestion. We just want to make the roads safer for all because they are for all.
Yes, and you're trying to improve conditions for all.
Exactly.
And, you know, the majority do drive. I think it's obvious that
Yes.
the majority do drive, but we learn about things. We all feel like we know from our own experience how others live and operate. Do you remember the wreck, the accident with 18-wheeler that took out part of the bridge?
Yes.
I-55. During that, we learned about a young man who walked 4 to 5 miles to and from work, and he had to go an extra mile to get around that when that bridge was broken out to work at. He worked at the Waffle House, and it was a walk for him every day.
Right.
This was a good, hardworking young man in Jonesboro who didn't have his own transportation. The jet buses do a good job, but you have to really know the schedule, and we're coming out with a new app for that you should be looking forward to soon.
Absolutely.
But there are people's lives are different in many, many ways.
Right.
And so it's important for pedestrians, it's important for bicyclists, it's important for auto drivers, it's important for truckers, it's
Right.
important for everybody to find good ways to get around. And that's what your job entails basically every day,
Right.
making a better, safer route for these people. I assume that's the goal of this study.
Oh, it's always the goal with me. It is always the goal, but in particular, this one, I don't want anyone to get confused and say, oh, well, it's only for pedestrians and cyclists. It's for motorists as well, because any type of recommendations that we make that may get implemented in the city is going to affect everyone's way of travel. And it is my hope that the more input that we have, we can try to make the best recommendations based on an overall perspective. So we're taking into account things with motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists that we may not have thought otherwise. Case in point, just reviewing most recent census data about how our population is aging. We don't have a lot of youth here that's either retained in the region. So with our population aging, and it's a very wide percentage of it, you have to think eventually these people as well won't be driving after a while. And so it's not just, I want hopefully to get people past the mindset of, yes, in this current day, this may delay your travel a couple of seconds. But if you're older and you're no longer driving, but you still get around, you're walking within your neighborhoods, you may be on a motorized scooter or anything like that, that someday could affect you as well. And so we want to plan not only for just now, but for the future. Even a lot of people just see these type of amenities as for a younger population, but we're also taking into account how our population is sort of spreading over time.
Right. Okay, tell us the location and times as best you can of the public meetings that you want to hold.
So our public input meeting for the STEP study, it will be held on July 23rd, that is next Tuesday, and it will be from 4:30 to 7:30, and it's drop-in style. So we will have maps available, we will have a timeline of where we began the study to where we are now, we will have some of the recommendations, and we're also willing to take public comments about the upcoming temporary pedestrian crossing that we plan to put at the intersection of Johnson Avenue and State Street.
So, but don't feel like you're coming at 4:30 and leaving at 7:30.
Right. It's
drop in.
Particularly drop in style.
Right.
Come and let us know and give us your comments.
If anybody has any questions, how do they get in touch with you and your staff?
You may email us at npo@jonesboro.org, or you may give us a call at 870-933-4623.
Very nice. Cecelie Cochran, MPO Director for all of Northeast Arkansas Transportation. Thank you, Cecelie.
Thank you, Bill.